Hey, Cougar family. Welcome to Season 1 of the CougsFirst podcast, your one-stop business network, a podcast all about life, business, and the best college in the world, Washington State University. Join us each episode to hear stories from your favorite Cougs, interviewed by yours truly, Kelsey Knutson, class of 2012. We're so glad you're here, and we can't wait to dive into this week's conversation. So grab a cup of coffee, crack open that beer, or pour a glass of wine, and let's kick off another episode of the CougsFirst podcast. All right, Cougar community, buckle up because we have a lot to talk about. And today I am joined by Reuben Mayes. You may know him from his amazing football career, but you also might know all the amazing things he's done in the philanthropy fundraising space as well. My hope with today's episode is a little twofold. I hope we have an awesome Cougar conversation, but I'm excited to get some takeaways and tangibles you can apply to your life, career, and just the desire to give back, especially to this amazing community that we all know and love. So Reuben, could we start with where you grew up, how you end up at WSU? Could you start there in your story?
I would love to, Kelsey, and thank you so much for having me on the CougsFirst show. I really appreciate the opportunity. Well, maybe a lot of people don't know I was raised in North Battleford, Saskatchewan, which is in Canada, just above Montana, in a town with about 11,000 people, the size of probably Colfax, Washington, and was a wonderful upbringing. We have a homestead farm, gentleman's farm that my dad and his brother own still. So I spent a lot of summers growing up in a very rural environment, farming in weekends and hauling bales. And we had cattle and a bull, and I had bought a horse when I was 12. And so really different upbringing for most folks, I think, but something that has been part of my DNA. And went from doing that and raised at, of course, high school and all of those things that go with being brought up in a small community, and was very, very fortunate to be fast, very fast. I was kind of a scrawny kid, and so I was as I got older, I joined a track team, the track club, the Kiwanis Track Club in North Battleford. And we competed, and I got more and more success. So I became one of the top sprinters and prospects in the entire country going into high school. And I was kind of tapped to be the next Harry Jerome, who was an individual that won a silver medal in one of the Olympics back in many years ago, and actually won that award after my rookie year, my rookie year in the NFL. The Harry Jerome Award. Anyway, long story short, ran track. That was my first love, but also loved football because I was so fast. I could avoid a lot of tackles. And so we were very successful in high school. We won the provincials or the state championship my junior year, lost in the final my senior year. But my coach, Don Hodgins, really wanted to help me get into the United States. And so he sent lots of information to a lot of colleges, and happened upon a chance meeting actually with Hugh Campbell, who was the GM for the Edmonton Eskimos. And Hugh Campbell had a connection with WSU. Hugh Campbell was a receiver back in the 60s. And so sent my film, called WSU, and called Jim Walden, the head football coach. And Jim Walden said, we need to take a shot at this guy. And so Hugh Campbell said, Jim, I know the film's not very good, but as a favor, you need to give this guy a scholarship. He's very prolific as a track guy. They've had a lot of success in football, and he's had a lot of success in football. And so they flew me down just to see how big I was, because they knew I was really fast in terms of my track records. That's pretty official. But because the film was so bad, they didn't know, physically what I looked like. But Jim tells me this story because I've been with Jim many times, but Jim Walden in the recent years. He says, when I walked into the cafe, I was 6 foot tall, about 190 pounds. And they said, well, he's definitely big enough to play at the Division I level. And so with that, Jim and the defensive coordinator went back into the kitchen and they talked about me in terms of what they should do. They had one scholarship left because a kid had just left in March, which is really late in the recruiting season. And he goes, "What the hell? Let's give him a scholarship." So he comes back out and says, "Hey, we want to offer you a full scholarship to Washington State University." I called my dad, and my dad said, "I think, yeah, this is the only scholarship being offered in the United States." And so I accepted it. And that's what happened.
Wow, that's what an amazing story. And the Dude Ranch, I'm like, I could have a whole episode just about that.
Absolutely. I could tell you some stories, man.
Well, and you're right. Not everyone has that experience.
Right.
So thanks for sharing that. That's
Uh-huh.
awesome. Okay, so you're at WSU.
Yes.
Obviously, well, what do you decide to study? What are you for sure in the mindset? I'm going pro. That's the goal. What was your mindset as you were finishing up your career there?
Well, my mindset, the first day my mom dropped me off, was, man, did I make a mistake? I'm sitting there in the football stadium. I came in a week early, and it was a hot day on a Sunday at 2:00. And I'm sitting there thinking, what have I done? I mean, my entire country of Canada was telling me not to do this. And I'm down here by myself, hot, and really didn't know what to expect. And I said, what the heck? I'm going to go for it. And so I remember vividly having that mindset, first of all, that I'm going to work really hard and do whatever it takes. And I'm going to get my degree because that's important to me and was important to my parents. I'd be the first one to get my degree in the family. So I had a different perspective because I didn't have any relative that had played Division I football or understood about the NFL or anything like that. I ran track my freshman year for John Chaplin and was really fortunate. We won the Pac-10s that year in Berkeley. I was the slowest guy on a 4x1 400 relay team. I was number 2, but it was a great experience. But my mindset just was, I'm going to work really hard as a freshman. I had the freshman rushing record, and I felt that was a good first solid year. Really being in a new country, being at a Division I school, and running track and playing football the same year. It was really intense, and I had really good grades. I remember walking into the football office after the first semester, and I had like a 3.1, and I wanted to get a business degree. And I remember I was pretty nervous. I thought that was not very good. And so the coaches welcomed me in and said, "Hey, Reuben's here. You got a 3.1." And they were celebrating. And I went downhill after that academically. So I kind of skimmed along. I eventually got my degree, obviously, and got a master's in business administration later on in my life. But that was a very intense first 6 months being a student athlete at Washington State University.
Of all the things that you've done in your time at WSU, what award or experience are you most proud of?
I think the breaking the NCAA rushing record in 1984. We had a team that had won some games and lost some games. We had the largest NCAA comeback the week before against Stanford. And, we against Oregon that year, we had to win the game, obviously, but it was a rainy day, and we were passing the ball, but they were scoring on us. Our defense was playing well, but they were scoring, we were scoring, had to run the ball, and everything clicked. And the reason I mentioned the Oregon game was because it was such a team effort. The blocking, if you go back and look at the film, the blocking was excellent. And allowed me to, get 10 yards, 30 yards, 50 yards, these big gashes. And on a particular play, it was a draw play. It seemed to really be, very productive for us. So if I were to go back and look at my athletic accomplishments, that's the one, because I still have friends, Mike Dreyer, who was the guard on the team and one of my best friends and was best man at my wedding. We still talk about that game. And Kurt Ladinas and just Kerry Porter was the teammate, and Mark Rippon. It's just a great day to celebrate, and it was really a team celebration, and beating and having a win too was really cool.
CougsFirst is your one-stop business network. Looking for a new bank or insurance? Think CougsFirst. Buying a new car? think Cougs first. Hiring a Coug, think Cougs first. Need a mentor? You guessed it. Think Cougs first. What makes WSU great is Cougs supporting Cougs, and they are in every business. And we'll take your call. Google it at CougsFirst.org. And as always, go Cougs. I love that. What do you think it takes mentally and also like physically, but mostly mentally, to go from college to also professional? Because obviously that is a small percentage of people.
Yeah, 1% kind of get an opportunity to even go to training camp of all the college football players.
Right.
I think what it takes is, well, first of all, you really have to be physically prepared to go from a probably like 11 or 12 game season to a 20 game season. And so physically, it's very demanding because you have back when I played, you had 4 preseason games and you had 16 regular season games. And then you had, if you went to the playoffs, that's extra games there. And so you're not prepared for that. You know, in college, you have your certain amount of practices and you got class and then you got, the off season. You have an off season in the NFL. So first of all, physically be prepared for that. And the nature of that, because you're playing a much better athlete. And so everyone's All-American. Everyone is very good. And so you have the competition level is significantly increased in terms of what that looks like and your ability to be successful. And I was fortunate to have a lot of speed, and that's what I used a lot. And I was an instinctive runner, and so physically the competition level and also the number of games. Mentally is I thought I had the advantage because I had always thought if I could prepare well in the off season, I would be mentally ready for anything that got thrown at me. So I was always someone that worked really hard in the off season. I ran a lot of hills. Walter Payton was one of my idols, and he had stories of him running hills back down in Mississippi or in Florida. And so I ran a lot of hills. And so I didn't know what to expect, but I knew that if I was well conditioned mentally, that I could respond. And if I got, tackled and I was exhausted mentally, I could go forward. And that's what helped me a lot my first year and helped me be successful, honestly, was I was very physically ready, but more than that, I was very mentally ready, mentally tough to get ready for the battles. I played a lot my first few years of my career.
And some people, a simple Google will tell you the answer, but what teams did you play for? And same question for WSU, but for professional, what are you most proud of in that portion of your career?
Yes, so I played 5 years for the New Orleans Saints and 2 years for the Seattle Seahawks. And the highlight really was my first year. I was NFL Rookie of the Year. And the second one was I was also named to the Pro Bowl, probably more so the Pro Bowl, because the Pro Bowl is the elite of the elite. And so I was selected as one of the top running backs my first year and second year as a professional football player. And, you can't take that away from anyone when you've produced and you have those results. And so I remember vividly calling my mom from SeaTac Airport when they announced I'd been named to the Pro Bowl team. And she says, I said, Mom, I've been selected to the All Pro football team. She says, oh, that's great. When you coming home? So, it was also humbling and kind of a refreshing to have my parents who knew what I had been doing. They've been following me and everything, but they really kept me in perspective. And that's why I go back to my Saskatchewan roots of, keeping things in perspective, being coming from a small farming community and a sparsely populated province.
I was going to say, did they become Coug fans after they saw you have some success there?
Oh, absolutely. Lots of folks in my hometown followed me. They'd watch the games on someplace, or pirate whatever they had to watch the games. And so that was great to have a community backing me that way.
Could we pause here and maybe give a little nugget of advice to any player at WSU who's potentially listening, whether they are aspiring to be a player or currently there? Any advice you would give to them?
Yeah, go for it.
Mm.
Most of us, I think, and I say all the time, fear is something that is with us every single day, every single minute. I feel, fear is something, and all fear is this our response to ambiguity and how you deal with that in a response. And what I've learned, no matter what it is, embrace your fears and go for it, because you will always learn from failing or succeeding. And so if you're a football player or you're a regular student and you're thinking about trying something that is beyond what your knowledge base or an experience that you've had, what I've learned is go do it, and go do it because that's what makes you better. It's not what you know, it's what you don't know. And once you know what you don't know, you can respond and learn. And so most of my life has been like that. Most of my life has been, let's try that. Let's try a different pathway. Or, here's a challenge, and how do we find a pathway? And even if I fall flat on my face or I fumble the ball, and Monday Night Football, you got to get back up and you got to get back in there again, and you learn from that. So it's all about learning and embracing your fears.
Great answer. Uh, Obviously, you didn't play football forever and ever and ever because you do something else now. So, how do you decide your career is wrapping up? How do you decide what's next for you?
Well, I never thought I would have a career, quote unquote, career in professional football. So
Okay.
even day one, I took the Series 67 for Merrill Lynch to be an investment consultant, and then did the Series 67. There's this really hard test, and so I actually worked in the off season for 2 off seasons, making cold calls at the local Merrill Lynch branch, and thought, I'm going to prepare right now for life after sports. And I was always been industrious like that. I decided, I didn't have the time to do that, to be a full-fledged financial consultant, but I learned a lot through that process. But I always not had a plan B. I always thought, I will transition into another career when I'm done. And I went on to, get a master's in business. I took a year off and got it in 1 year so I could kind of transition. That was really my transition. And then starting at WSU with the athletic department, working with their annual fund. And I cut my teeth on fundraising, and I fell into a real passion and heartfelt emotions around raising money, and really thought that could be the career for me. And so I've been doing that and working on administration from the university, and then transition in the latter half of my career into healthcare around philanthropy and administration, basically leadership.
Do you think your time on the field, kind of some of the skill sets you honed in there, contribute to what you do now?
Well, not physically, obviously.
I'm like,
But
you're running around the conference room.
yeah, but fundraising is a contact sport. So I think
Yeah.
I think how I can sum it up is intention and contact, in the way that you have to reach out to people, and you don't know how they're going to respond. And that's kind of the fun adventure when you're dealing with money and people and personalities and communitarians and people who are philanthropic or generous. You've tried to figure out what their passions are, what your organization is trying to accomplish in terms of their bold vision, and trying to find where they cross. And then you get to be a part of someone doing something that's bigger than themselves. And that's, to me, again, a pure joy, the joy of being a part of that experience for someone that gladly gives up some of their resources and gets a tax deduction. But really, we know people they don't give for a tax deduction, they give for the joy of making a difference. And they have all kinds of personal reasons why they do it, personal motivations why they do that. So that's to me why I really enjoy that aspect of what I've done and what I continue to do.
What makes WSU great? Cougs support Cougs, and they are in every business and want to give you a good deal. Looking for a new bank or insurance? Think CougsFirst. Selling your house? Think Cougs First. Need to plan a party? Pick a venue or set your menu? Think Cougs First. Did we make our point? Start to Google it at CougsFirst.org. And as always, go Cougs! What is something that people may not realize or know about fundraising? I ask because I saw that you may have a TED Talk on this. So I'm curious, something people don't know, or maybe a myth buster, something you'd like to share.
Yeah, there's a couple things that people don't realize, and maybe they do or they don't. But the number one reason why people don't give is because they're not asked. You really have to ask people to consider making a gift. And so that's, that's really the key. One of the keys anyway is you have to ask people, because people are going around thinking, how can I give money to Red Cross or give money to United Way on a daily basis? You have to provide some information for them to respond to. And then you have to ask them, hey, would you consider a gift when it's appropriate? Consider a gift of this to help do this and get this benefit. So one is you got to ask, and number two is you got to provide information that is compelling, that is there's an urgency involved, and there's a clarity. You have to provide a line. I call a line of sight for folks to say, okay, my whatever amount of it is going to go into this project, and this is what's going to happen, and they can see themselves being a part of that with many other people.
You also touched, and not quite that answer, but earlier, about leadership. So how is that a muscle that you develop? What was your process, and how did you become an effective leader?
Well, I think you can become an effective leader, good or bad, because when you're in that role, you are effective because you're the one who's responsible. So I think the responsibility of leadership is really important. You have to, first of all, understand that you are responsible for not only your employees, but their families. And so the decisions that you make and how you go about your work affects everyone that is part of your organization. So it's a very serious thing in the way I look at it. The second thing is all you have are people. You have technology and you have, there's contracts and all that, but I have not seen anyone that has made someone do something outside of them doing it themselves and being motivated. So how do you do that? Well, you have to encourage people. I know the Bible says love changes people, and I feel the same way. I think you have to love on your employees. You have to encourage them. You have to see the best in them. You have to have fun because there's drudgery in work. And so I try to provide that to everyone in a different way that connects with them. And so that's the work of leadership, is finding a way that you can help people see the best in themselves and and then when they achieve it or don't achieve it, you celebrate. So it's all good. And that's what I've learned about leadership is really you're investing in people. You're providing clarity in terms of where you're going. You're providing accountability. And you're the one that is ultimately responsible for the organization and for the families.
Yeah. No, I think when you make it presented that way, it makes it human. And then you have more reason to do that well.
Absolutely. It's a very human adventure. And these are real people with have things just like I do, busy, and distractions and good days and bad days. So you're getting someone, and first thing in the morning, you're getting the best. That's the best that you're going to get, because that's what it is. And my job is how do we connect the dots? How do we achieve? How do we meet our goals? How do we celebrate? How do we have fun? I'm a guy that likes to have fun. That's just part of who I am, because I've learned that, That's celebrating and enjoying and some good food, being funny, cracking a joke, whatever that looks like. That's what life is all about.
Totally. So what are you, as of the minute we're recording this, what do you currently do? And tell us a little bit about this next chapter that will be happening when this comes
Yeah.
out.
Well, I've been so privileged to work for Pullman Regional Hospital for Scott Adams for 10 years and helped to secure, with the help of staff and gracious, great donors, over $20 million for capital. I've accepted a new position as the Regional Partnerships and Philanthropy Officer for Seattle Children's Hospital. I'll be working 100% remote, so I'm staying in Pullman, but I'm helping Seattle Children's with their partnerships to sustain and grow. They have 41 partnerships in 4 states. They're the largest children's hospital in the country, and help them grow in that area as well as philanthropically outside of Seattle and from a regional basis, and really kind of raise the bar outside of Seattle in terms of the continuity of care that's provided, but also philanthropy. And so it's a new challenge, a new opportunity, great organization. I've gotten to know it over the years, and I feel very fortunate to be in this new role beginning in just another few days, actually.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Last serious question, then we'll
Sure.
have some fun. Of all the things you've done in your career, it could be academic, it could be career, whatever you choose. What's maybe one big life lesson that you have that has been really pivotal for you?
One life lesson. Oh, yeah, I think I got something. Uh, we're all kind of broken. Okay, we're all broken.
Yeah.
And so if we
Yeah.
start at the basis, we're all in the same thing. We're all strugglers and trying to figure things out. We have fears and anxieties and confidence and all that. And my role is to help encourage and to help someone be successful. A smile, encouraging word. That's because I know that we're all in the same place. And so how can I provide some light in someone's day? And that to me has been a life lesson for me that I will continue to do, because I think that's the essence of life.
Well, and how fulfilling if that's where you're coming from all the time.
What's that?
How fulfilling if that's
That's
your
fulfilling.
goal.
Yeah,
Exactly.
because everyone needs a little encouragement,
Yeah.
and so that's going to be my legacy. Is I will always, whoever crosses my path, I'm going to see the best in people, and I try to do that. I really do, and try to be an encourager, and that's my life thing, I guess, whatever you call it.
Yeah.
Because I
Your
think
purpose.
that's the essence of life for me.
Great answer.
Yeah.
Fabulous answer. Okay, let's have a little bit of fun here, Ruben.
Yes.
So, question number 1 I have for you in the rapid fire. If we were to get a beer in Pullman right now, where would we go?
In Pullman.
Yes.
Yes. In Pullman, probably South Fork.
Oh, and please some French fries also, if we're doing that.
Yes.
Those French fries are very good.
Very good. Very good French fries. South Fork they have a big beer selection. Also, Zeppel's does too, but South Fork has, more food, but they're both great places. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Zeppel's and South Fork. Yes.
Totally. Okay.
Yeah.
Number 2.
Yeah.
I know we're in the season, but if you had to pick one football game, a home game to see this year, you could only pick one. Which one would it be?
Well, Utah's coming up, so it's going to be Utah because Utah's ranked, I think, number 11, and they're coming to Pullman, and we need a statement game in Pullman, and so I think I'm excited about that. It's always been a tough game for the Cougars, but that would be it's going to be a great game to watch.
Yeah, agree. I'm cautiously optimistic is
Yes,
the words
me
I would
too.
use. Being honest here, I love my Cougs, but I got to be honest.
Yeah.
Okay. Last fun question,
Sure.
Ruben. If you were to describe your time at WSU and you could pick, any time that you were there, because you were in there in different capacities, but if you could describe it in one word, what would that word be?
Wow. It would be, wow, that's a tough one. It would be Football. Well, I'm going to do 3 words. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Football, fun, farming, and I don't know, just, winning in a small community is nothing like it, because there's nothing like that, because people are so excited about football. So I think fun on the Palouse. I couldn't do it 1 word. I think Palouse fun. That's 2 words, right?
I mean, I feel like fun.
Yes, fun. Absolutely.
Fun. That's amazing.
I've had so much fun as a player and as an employee for WSU when I was, and then now working for Pullman Regional Hospital. It's all common denominator has been the Palouse, and I just love it. I love everything about that sort of environment.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time today and sharing such a range of, of knowledge and experience. And I so appreciate it. Could you direct people if they want to find more of you or the different things that you're up to? Where would you like to send people?
Yeah. Well, there is that Fundraising 101. It's a TED Talk. I think it has like 80,000 views now. And so if someone's learning some of the basics about fundraising, I did that a few years ago. And, LinkedIn is someone wants to connect with LinkedIn. I'm getting better at that, and I will, I'll make the connection and then, or else I'll see you in Safeway, because that's where everyone goes.
So true. I love that. And we'll have all of that information in the show notes, everyone. Rueben, thank you so much again for your time today. Yeah. And I really enjoyed today's conversation.
Oh, good. Well, Kelsey, nice to meet you too. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Awesome. Go Cougs.
Go Cougs.
And that's a wrap. Thanks for hanging out with us on the CougsFirst podcast. We hope you leave feeling inspired, entertained, and encouraged to support yet another awesome Cougar-owned business. If you like what you heard, do us a huge favor and leave a review for the CougsFirst podcast on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you listen. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on the latest episodes, and please share this podcast with your fellow Cougs. And remember to thank CougsFirst for all of your products and services. But until the next episode, let's end it with a good old-fashioned Go Cougs!